So get yourself comfortably settled. And we'll begin with our aspiration, fourfold aspiration, Brahmaviharas. May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. May all beings always be pain-free and live happily. May no beings ever cling to those near nor spurn those far. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. And some digit lama cherries and your matches and chance of the soul with Epson entire chin show. And letting yourself really rest on your seat, your deep seat, supported from the very center of Mother Earth, that center directly beneath you, sending support, a deep seat. A seat that you can trust. Trusting our seat. A lot of meaning in that. Trust in our being. Trust that we can be here. That there will be support for us. That there is right now, in this very moment, very real support for you, for me. Each one of us sitting on a pillar of deep, deep support. I'll give you a minute to feel into that in your own way, just to come to rest, to settle. And if you like, to notice how a sense of trust is or isn't quite palpable, present, resting on your seat, trusting your seat. And you know that as you sit here in alignment from the center of the earth to the bottom of your spine, that seat is one great deep support. Your own skeletal structure, rising, supporting itself from the sits bones on up through every part of your skeleton, the ribs, each one horizontally supporting the other. So there is an alignment through the center of your body as well. Alignment that starts the bottom of your spine, which is aligned with Earth Center, and which continues through your deep navel center, your deep belly, and continues your heart, your throat, crown of your head, and the apex of space. This is an alignment running through you, moving through you, present in you. So see if you feel into anything like that. And your chin is tucked down just a bit, and you can feel that pull that helps you sense into an alignment, a vertical alignment through the center of your body. It's not something that you have to do anything about. It's a given. It's how the body, the human body, is. And of course, you make adjustments for your own particular human body if there are sensitivities, injuries, you take account of that. But still, in principle, there is this central alignment. And every once in a while, it's good to take a little time to honor it, acknowledge it. It's easily forgotten. And yet it's a deep part of us. So with this alignment in place, your breath comes in smoothly, goes out smoothly. Everything is open, like an empty highway, an open road, open path. So let's just breathe, sensing your breath, sensing also the alignment, the smooth, open path through your body. You know, in a subtle yet powerful way, Simply breathing. The inhalation coming just at the right moment. The letting go that follows in just the right way. Also builds a sense of trust. If I can breathe, I can live. So we appreciate the blessing of our own breath. And if you're easy and your belly is relaxed, you may feel the breath going all the way down to your belly, bringing energy there. This very foundationally stable part of the body. More trust. And letting your attention also note that this support coming to you directly from the center of the earth, flowing up from a place directly beneath you, that flow of support is transferred to your own body so that the lower part of your body, particularly from your navel center, is supporting your heart. And what is it like to tenderly, gently, with respectful, maybe slightly awed curiosity, see how your heart is, the emotional heart at the center of your body is invited to be at ease. Feel itself supported. Relax. Like a piece of exquisite cloth draped over a chair. It's just easy, relaxed, present. How is that? You may not have words, but just see how that is for you. a relaxed heart. A relaxed heart also supports a sense of trust. A relaxed heart in a chaotic world, not pushing the world away, not denying the chaos, but also allowing ease, a natural ease of heart to be present. Neither ignoring the chaos nor getting absorbed in it. What would that feel like? Maybe pretend that you're feeling it. Maybe you are feeling it. Maybe you feel you could never feel that way, whatever it is. We accept that that's our experience right now. And let's enjoy this space of quiet, perhaps growing possibility of trust, of receiving and relaxing into support for a few more minutes together in silence, experiencing it in your own way, whatever seems most valuable for you right now. And if you like, let your attention now gently rise up through your central axis and be present at your crown, which perhaps also is relaxed, open. And through the crown, we receive nourishment from space above. We are supported by the earth, and that helps us open to the space above. And if you like, in a way that feels right and comfortable to you, you can feel that energy, light, perhaps a golden kind of sunlight, a stream of it pours in very gently in just the right amount through your crown, through the center of your crown, gold flecks of light. And move down through your crown, through your body, just blessing every part of you with infinite small flakes of golden light. And then take a moment to simply be easy and let your organism digest whatever experience you've had. Not really doing anything, no longer, quote, meditating, but just resting for a bit. Integrating, resting and integrating, just naturally occurring. It's not dramatic, but it's important. So this is a fundamental way to be in the body as a support for all of our practices, and we touch into it from time to time. Some of you are quite familiar with it, and we emphasize slightly different aspects. And today, somehow, I really wanted to, not even like consciously wanted to, I guess I just felt to emphasize a little bit the orientation to trust. It came up in our conversation together recently. The orientation to trust, and also in our green tar practice. Trust is in short supply, maybe these days, particularly short supply. We don't know what's coming next, that sort of thing. So the body also has a way of trusting and not trusting, and it's related to how our mind is, and it's related to our and the entirety of our life experience. It's not a simple thing, actually, to have trust. And it's very relevant to our practice, especially as we go deeper into practice, just to, I don't know, take our trust temperature a little bit. And if it's off, then we see that. It's okay. If we feel there's something forming, that's interesting. And particularly, we don't actually usually, well, it seems important to look at how a sense of trust affects the heart. Tend to focus a lot on the belly, which is a really important place in the body for stability, for earth, groundedness, very significant in all of the martial arts, as many of you know. And it's also significant for us. And the heart isn't quite like that. But the heart is the center of our emotional world, and therefore, when you feel anxiety, well, we might feel it in the stomach, but also the heart gets, I don't know, I feel kind of crimped up, The cur of courage, the heart courage of care, people are saying nowadays. And we've talked about this on these Tuesday sessions as well, the strength of, a courageous, compassionate orientation in life. And we talked a little bit last time, and not just last time, about, unpleasantness, suffering, irritation, and how we are able or unable to hold that in a certain way. We use the example of inviting somebody into our field, and somebody who we know irritates us, and just seeing how we could be with that based on the practice that we had done. So I'm going to continue in a slightly different direction. And before I do, I'm curious if you had some, I don't know what, insight or resistance or something connected either with the heart or a sense or lack of a sense of trust, or what came up for you. Oh, I'm supposed to look at this. Okay. Trust or anything isn't compassion, love, all these qualities that we're developing. None of them are on-off switches, right? There's a spectrum. So part of what we do in life, in life practice, is become a little bit more aware of where we are on our own spectrum of trust, mistrust. Some people have hardly any trust. Very difficult to relax in that case. So we've been talking a bit about the Naga princess, and Stephanie was asking, it's the stories that I'm talking about are from a book called The Hidden Lamp. You probably can't read the title, but it's called The Hidden Lamp, Stories from 25 Centuries of Awakened Women. It's edited by Florence Kaplow with a C, and Susan Moon. What a great name, Susan Moon. And it's various stories of women's encounters with the Buddha, mostly from India and China. And the Naga princess was the one I ended up talking about. So they invited different women practitioners, scholars to comment briefly. Jacqueline Mandel has a piece in here on some of these stories, which is an interesting thing in itself to try to do. It's not the usual thing that I do. So just to pick up a thread from the Naga princess, you remember that she blew Shariputra's mind and probably everybody's mind around by just like that 8-year-old girl coming up from under the ocean, which is already pretty amazing because she is a Naga princess, achieving awakened state just like that. And everybody is now, how you can't do that. Buddha took aeons. How could you do that? And I just wanted to, it's easy to forget that in the very first line of this story, we're introduced to the Bodhisattva Manjushri, who is, of course, the beacon of wisdom. He's red. He holds a sword. He is the embodiment of discriminating wisdom, one of the 5 wisdoms of the Buddha. And it's he who reports to the assembled Sangha of the Buddha that this girl, this Naga princess, was really something. He said she loves all beings as herself and is capable of realizing the Buddha's awakening. So Manjushri, with his discriminating wisdom and his sword, is stirring up already a bit of a fuss. That's actually when one Bodhisattva says, well, Buddha spent thousands of lifetimes. How could a girl do this, right? And so when I was reading this, and what is going on here? So we have Manjushri, who's red, therefore connected with the fire of a brilliant mind, of discrimination, precise wisdom, Sosotopa Yeshe in Tibetan, just very precise kind of knowing, clear, not muddled. He's red, and then kind of fire element. And the princess, at least in my imagination, she's coming up from water, which is usually white element white, and water is, you know, fire burns things up. Water has the power, of course, to overwhelm by flooding, but fundamentally water is usually, in the way we understand the elements and our experience of the elements, water is an expression of a kind of flowing receptivity. You know how water will, if there's a big rock in the middle of the ocean or an island, the water, no, it doesn't matter. It just goes around it. It just knows how to go into no matter how complicated the territory, you know, water can just feel any kind of ground. So it's a different kind of situation. And in some ways, it seemed to me that these were coming together in this story. I am fire, soft and brilliant, comforting and dangerous, a fiery wisdom, precise, passionate, and burning. So the elements, like our emotions, tend to extremes, but really have quite a broad kind of spectrum, just like our spectrum of trust is broad. So wisdom, like fire, can be overwhelming, you know, just kind of too much, like TMI, wiping out your brain cells, using them up by working too hard on the computer, thinking too hard. But fire can devour, but also can be very comforting. So comforting and dangerous, a fiery wisdom. And one can't be in fire all the time either. So there's water. I am water, flowing and dissolving. I am not afraid of fire. That's the sense of the princess. I am a radiant wisdom mirror. And in fact, water is associated with the capacity of the mind, not only to be discriminating precise, but also to kind of reflect everything like a mirror. It's another one of the 5 wisdoms. And when we think of dealing with chaos and suffering, the thread of what I'm trying to wind around is to recognize the importance of multivalency, not all fire, not all water, but some kind of, there's red and white. And somehow they find a way to create balance. And of course, more broadly, we speak of the 5 elements and the 5 colors, but I'm just zeroing in on these 2 pieces. To this strength in water, there's strength in fire. We have different kinds of strength. You might find that your trust also has different colors. I don't know. Can be just very kind of laid back. Yeah, everything's groovy, Can be a kind of profound sense of deep confidence in your own path in the world. That'd be a little different. And then, of course, sometimes we feel we don't have a clue and we don't really think anything will ever work out. And we know what that feels like. And it's often the case that encountering difficulties, as we all are to one degree or another these days, well, as every living being does every day, really, but somehow that's dramatized for us. Everybody's a little on edge, and many are much worse than a little on edge. Those of us who have the leisure to gather here tonight are surely in about the top 1% of people being, comfortable in this particular moment. And I was in this light. I was looking back at another story here of Bada Kundalakesa. Bada Kundalakesa. So, often these stories are of very extreme situations. Very positively extreme is an 8-year-old girl becoming enlightened in one moment. Kisa Gotami, the woman whose infant child dies and she has to ask for salt. No, actually, she asks, sometimes it says salt, sometimes it says a mustard seed from different houses. So she's experienced catastrophe and she moves through it. So a lot of these stories of the early disciples of the Buddha, and especially actually the women disciples, are often stories like this. They encounter suffering, it changes them in certain ways. And with that in mind, this is what happened to her. So she was a wandering Jain ascetic. She was famous for her debating skills. And actually, I'll tell you more about this in a minute. So whenever she came to any new place, she would set down a rose apple, which is an interesting image. But the basic deal was she arrived somewhere newly on the scene, and she let it be known that she would debate with anybody about anything. And she always won. She had a lot of red, discriminating Manjushri energy. When she was 70 years old, she came to Shravasti, and Buddha's disciple, our friend Shariputra, was there, and he came forward to engage her in a public debate. Now, in the other story, Shariputra was a little bit of the straight man, but here it comes forth with his own Manjushri aspect of wisdom. And she asks him a bunch of philosophical questions, and he answers them very well. And then he says, "You've asked many questions. I would like to ask only one." And she said, "Please, Venerable One." He says, "One. What is that?" That's all he says. She can't answer. Perhaps you can relate. One. What is that? And he says, "If you don't even know that, how could you know anything else?" And he begins to teach her the Dharma. She was so moved by the teachings that she fell at his feet and asked to take refuge. And he said, "No, come." And he led her to the Buddha. The Buddha recognized her spiritual maturity. She had been an ascetic all her life, nearly all her life, and said, one phrase that brings peace is better than 1,000 words that have no use. Is he rebuking her excessively exercised intellect? Or ours? When she heard these words, she was freed. She was liberated as an arhat. And then the Buddha ordained her. He said simply, Bada, come. So Beth Kanji is the person who comments on this, and she gives a little background story, which is to the point that I'm interested in tonight. So it turns out Bada in her early life was a great, great beauty and very passionate. And you know how dangerous that can be from a parental perspective. So her parents locked her up. She was too beautiful, too passionate. And then one day, she happened to see from her window a very handsome, high-born thief with whom she immediately falls in love. And she insisted on marrying him. This thief was about to be executed for his thievery. But she insists on marrying him. And it says in some versions of the story, an innocent person is executed in his place. So this tells us something about the dangers of passion, right? Because it gets a little worse. So she goes off with him. And he says he wants to go to a mountain and fulfill a promise to a mountain deity. And he tells her to come with. And he tells her to wear all of her most precious jewels, which of course are worth a lot of money. He's a thief, right? So they get there and he is ready to throw her off the mountain after, of course, keeping her jewels. But she begs, please, 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 just let her please pray to the deity one more time. He's not so smart. He lets her do this and she throws him off the cliff. All right, so here we have serious extremes of passion and suffering arising from that. She is utterly distraught. She is totally appalled at where her passion has led her. Who of us hasn't been? Probably, hopefully not quite such dramatic terms, but really, we're human. And then that's it for her. She turns away from the world. She becomes a Jain ascetic. Jains are particularly ascetic, if you know, very devoted. Non-harm is what they carry at the center of their hearts. Spend your life so that you will never crush a bug, if possible. Put a net in water as you pour it into your cup so any bugs will not, get endangered by being drunk by you, but you can put them back on the grass. If you know Jain people, they're really, really devoted to this principle. So it's a very, very powerful form of asceticism. This is what she does. She becomes a great debater. She debates till she's 70 years old. This is what she does. So she kind of goes to another extreme, you might say, all passion, all asceticism, using her intellect. And Beth, I don't know if this comes out of her own interpretation, but I was quite moved by it. She says, so she spends the rest of her life debating with people, but never really talking to anyone. Maybe she was really, really lonely. And here, Shariputra is asking her a question, and suddenly she's in a personal relationship, a personal question. What is that one thing? What is one? What does it mean to be one? And Buddha tells her that one simple thing is more powerful than many, many, many words. One simple thing. So it occurred to me, thinking about this, that what is powerfully helpful One simple thing that is helpful is something that will make her whole, that will make us whole. Not too much in the passion side, not too much in the dry ascetic side. I'm not saying all asceticism is dry, but I think in this particular story, we're being offered a pretty broad picture of extremes. And somehow Shariputra, probably because of his own grace as a living being, he was, even though he's kind of made fun of sometimes in Mahayana sutras, he is one of the Buddha's closest students. Arhat, highly skilled person, an integrated person. So, when I said at the end of our practice, as we often do, just sit for a while so that we can integrate, become whole. We're practicing to become whole. That's a very profound thing. Usually, we're on one side of it or another. I think when Buddhists speak about the middle way, one way of kind of understanding what is being said is, how can we be whole? How can we be complete? Not just only passionate, not just only dry words, but actually able to choose when passion is appropriate passion, when intellect is appropriate intellect, when just sitting in our holy wholesomeness, we can be there. We don't get pulled offside. So that's what I wanted to say. What do you think? What do you feel? It makes sense? It's just one way of reading stories. That's how Buddhists teach a lot, and traditionally teach with stories. I don't usually do that. I'm too heady. I go for the philosophy, but I actually love stories. So what comes up for you? No hands. Okay, Paul. Oh, well, I see. You're supposed to have clicked, but I did see your hand, so go ahead.
Okay. Before I was a Buddhist, I was in a Sufi group. There was the founder was a man from what's now Pakistan. Actually, there's a connection between. I mean, where Pablo Sababa came from was in Pakistan. Right. They say.
Some say, yeah.
And there's a lot of connection between. I think the Islam and
right.
Hinduism and Buddhism in that center.
Right. So how does that relate?
So the man who founded the group was named Inayat Khan. He came to America in 1900. And he said at one point, the great secret of life is moderation. And that sounds like, something sort of trivial. It's not a big mystical secret.
It's a profound state. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very profound. It's hard to recognize what's profound sometimes when it's so simple. And that's why there's all this intellectual embroidery, so we can impress people and make people feel and make ourselves feel, yeah, it's really important. I think that's what Shariputra is also teaching. Just to say some small thing changed her whole life. Thank you, Paul. What else? Does it ring true for you that you, in your own unique way, kind of ricochet between, across a kind of spectrum to this and then to the opposite? Am I the only one who has experienced this in life?
That's it.
Hi.
She wanted to know who everyone is. I definitely, especially recently, but I think all the time, I definitely experience a lot of those, ricocheting and forth between. And I definitely find it true that I feel grounded really grounded when I meditate, and
Mm.
I'm able to come back to that center. I think ongoing challenge is finding that center when I'm not meditating.
Oh, wonderful. That's really nice.
And I guess kind of remembering that it's actually always there, but I
Yeah.
think ongoing challenge is remembering that.
It is a challenge. That's why we come together now and then to remind ourselves together. That's very sweet. Yeah. Anything else about that? Was there any part of the meditation that spoke to that? Or any part of the other part of the story? I'll let you think about that. I think for myself, it does help to begin at least to bring up, more of an experience of trust. I mean, we know stuff is going to happen. That's life. Things happen. It won't be calm, predictable, handleable. But to know that there's a place to go, in your experience is really a pretty big deal. Even if it doesn't last all the time, touch into it sometime. So thank you for mentioning that. It's very precious. Not everybody has it. And even we have to be, take a little care to honor it, come back to it. Well, our hour has come and gone. So it's nice to see you. I hope you're well. You look well. And look forward to seeing you next time, perhaps soon. May everything go well. Everybody take care. There is a lot of grief, a lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty all around us, even if we are protected in our homes. So our compassion goes out to all of us in this world. So we'll sing our dedication and our blessing for everyone. By this good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity. May the glow of love, wisdom, shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one enlightened mandala. Oh. And tonight, our love and compassion going out to all beings throughout space, and especially our lamas and sangha, all lamas and sanghas, our skylit home, all suffering children, COVID, Shantim Kuriye Soha, Kamala Nehru, Jairam in Bardo, Theo, Abood family. Oh, I was reading it from the bottom up, sorry. Back up. Sylvia, Rolando, Leah, Ed, Emma, Nathaniel, Gary, Jerry, and family. Margie McCracken in the Bardo, Alan Block in the Bardo, Maria, Karen, Barbara's mom, Julie's mom, Nam Vo, Mr. Woods. Okay. Well-being suffering from COVID, not just by having it, but by knowing those who are, the doctors, the nurses, the attendants, the janitors, those who are delivering our groceries or stocking the shelves, everybody who's helping to keep this world going this time, and everyone here tonight, everyone. Thank you, everyone. If you want to unmute for a moment and just say good night. Good night. Or maybe Emily does that. I don't know. Good night. Take care. Be well. See you soon. Whenever.